So we'll use the same principle of breathing. We'll focus a little bit more on the musculoskeletal aspect of breathing to start to feel the pendulum movement of the sacrum and how it starts to affect the spine, and all the way up to actually opening the cranium and all the bones of the head afterwards. So the first step is this one, which is important to take, is to make sure we're properly seated on the sit bone so that the sacroiliac joint can be free to move. So in order to feel it, you want to be a bit closer to the edge of the chair and kind of rock a little forward, a little back, feeling where the sit bones are, a little more on the left, a little more on the right, to try to find the sweet spots. Where you can feel your breath going deep into the lower abdomen easily. And first we'll observe, just within the abdominal breathing, the capacity of the abdomen to fully inflate, just to make sure the muscles are relaxed enough. And we're actually going to the extreme of not letting them use tensegrity, but just to be completely relaxed first to make sure we are relaxed. And then we're going to start to use the tensegrity of the abdominal muscle in the front, so that as we inhale, we feel that the muscle reach a certain level, and then there's a elastic retention that helps redirect the pressure from the diaphragm towards the perineum. And we'll let the perineum be a little loose so we can feel the pressure from the diaphragm kind of overextending the perineum floor and then coming back, but we don't want the muscle to engage just yet. So we're kind of allowing them to be fully relaxed before we use the tensegrity of the muscle after. The same we just did with the abdomen, we're just triggering it out on the pelvic floor. And then we want to get that tensegrity, slight elastic tension of the pelvic floor muscle to start to engage when they start to receive the pressure from the diaphragm, and observe how it pulls on the coccyx and the sacrum. It's kind of going into a wave motion. So first, when you start to breathe in, the diaphragm goes down. You feel the abdominals start to expand, and then they reach a level of slight elastic tension. And the moment that they reach this, you start to feel the pressure, because you're still inhaling, the pressure going down towards the perineum. And then once you start to feel that pressure at the perineum starts to tighten up a little bit, get that elastic tension as well to redirect that pressure towards the spine. And so for it to really go to the spine, you have to get just enough tension from the perineum to feel that the sacrum and the coccyx are kind of pulled under a little bit. So the further the breath goes, the further the diaphragm pushes for the inhale, the more you'll feel the pressure going down. And as soon as you start to feel it, then there's that, it's almost just like kind of closing your eyes. You don't want to tense it out. You just want to feel that there's, there's that elastic sensation. If you don't have any contraction, you feel that the perineum is kind of opening and the pressure is lost at a certain point. Now, if you go too far, it kind of creates tension also in the sacroiliac area. So you want that area to be relaxed enough so that the tension pull that comes from the muscle pulls the sacrum down, but not close the sacroiliac because everything is tight. And what you can do to help, you can take the tip of the finger, place them on the sacrum, And then as you breathe, try to see if you can start to feel the movement of the sacrum being pulled down. It's not much. It's about half a centimeter to a centimeter at first. So on the sacrum, you can feel where there's kind of a bumpier area. So you want to put your finger on top of it or just below it so you feel when that little bump is moving downward just a little bit as you inhale. And so from that feeling of the sacrum, try to see if you can follow a little bit that wave going up towards Mingmen. If you can start to feel how the spine is moving with it. And it's a little bit, since it's a wave, it starts from the sacrum and then everything else kind of follow gently after. So now that the feeling of the sacrum is there, we'll keep our attention on that pendulum swing without focusing too much on the breathing and on the movement of the muscle. The reason is that the sacrum and all the bones are naturally moving. The sensation, using the breath to help reconnect to this, allows us to match the breathing and that craniosacral rhythm. Using the breath at first, because we can control it more easily, help us to feel that movement and make it a little bigger than it is usually so that we can feel it and put it in our mind. Now that we have it, we can allow the breath to be a little more free, or use it at first just to kind of launch that pendulum swing to feel it a little more and then just observe it. So going back to the breath, reconnecting with the sensation of the coccyx and sacrum movement. And once the feeling is back, forgetting the breath, allowing the breathing to become a bit more natural, and just following that rocking motion, a bit like if we're in a rocking chair. And from that feeling through the sacrum, feeling how it can go up and spread gently through the spine, and as we exhale, bringing our attention back into the lower abdomen. So the attention within the Dantian should be very relaxed. The major aspect should be just to feel that kind of rocking attention. It's just so that if you feel the wave going up, that you remember to bring your attention back as you exhale so that it doesn't stay stuck around the head. Now we're going to use that and integrate it with the first movement of set 1 so that we can start to feel how the movement of Qi coordinates a little better. So from a Wuji, or just before we start the movement, bringing our attention back on abdominal breathing and making sure that we're still seated on the sit bone even though we're standing. So we want to feel like our sit bone are connected with the ground. They're almost right above our heel, but we want to feel that the weight of the body is at the center of the feet. We don't want it to be too far back, because then it would be creating a bit too much tension around the sacroiliac. So we need to have that sitting posture while feeling the weight at the center of the feet, to allow the sacrum to be free to move. So the sacroiliac kind of opens in the back, and there's a slight closing sensation from the front of the iliac crest and towards the pubic bone. So it feels like when we breathe in, once the abdominals start to get into their tensegrity aspect, they kind of bring everything together in the front, opening the sacroiliac joint. From here, as we start to breathe and as we start to feel the sacrum being pulled, we want to feel how that movement helps the increase of the sensation around the lower dantian, and now the hands are starting to go up gently. I personally like to really focus just on the lower part at first so that I have very clearly the movement of the sacrum and allow the qi to pool in a little more. There we go. And kind of follow the movement I can perceive in the spine with my hands. And it feels like if the movement of the sacrum is the one triggering everything else. It brings a very quiet sensation inside the body, inside the mind. And there's a certain thickness to the sensation that changes, almost like water flowing through the body. One more. And then letting the arm to the side, but continuing to feel the craniosacral movement with just the breathing. So sitting down, simply breathing, feeling that rocking motion and feeling it just loosen up the spine, finding the posture in which you can be as relaxed as possible to allow this gentle wave to start to happen. The sacrum and the spine are usually the first one that we start to get. As the spine starts to loosen up, afterwards you'll start to feel it also, how it opens the cranium bone, and that's where you really get the opening of Bai Hui on top of the head.